The XRP community has been eagerly awaiting the outcome of the long-drawn-out battle between the SEC and Ripple, and we have a new development. So 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 has engaged in a major argument with former SEC attorney, and it gets interesting. So the former SEC attorney noted that based on his 30 years experience in dealing with securities markets, the SEC was right in alleging that Ripple violated Section 5 of the Securities Act in its XRP sales. Further added that the SEC has a better summary judgment and argument over Ripple, but then went to contradict himself by saying that he thinks Ripple will win. I find this all quite interesting. As we get into this video, we're going to be jumping down into kind of what's going on there. We're going to unpack that a little bit. We're going to take a look at the price charts, and we'll kind of speculate on what we think is going down here with everything Ripple and XRP. So if you find it useful, smash the like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new, subscribe, and don't forget to join us down in Discord, linked in the description below. Okay, so 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 obviously countered the argument, from the former SEC, attorney. I just find it quite interesting. I still can't quite get my head around how the former, or even the SEC, the former SEC employees, thinking that they can call it a security, at least not in the way that they've done it and they've approached the market. But let's get into what 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 is saying here. So he countered the argument by quoting a legal document referencing 𝗕𝗢𝗠𝗪, stating that the purchase of XRP was an investment of money into a common enterprise. While 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 agreed to a point that most of the altcoins have violated this Section 5. He said that the major problem is the way that the SEC laid out its argument, and I can't disagree more. I've said this for quite a few years at this point. Since 2020, we've kind of been saying that the SEC lawyers and the way that they approached this case, it was almost like they didn't want to win. They made a lot of mistakes, and they kind of make fool of themselves time and time again. So it's interesting that we kind of see 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 obviously picking up on very similar things in regards to the fact that they haven't really laid out the case in the way that they could be deeming it as a security, and we kind of unpack that a little bit. So to quote 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 here, I wouldn't argue against you on that point. I've stated that initial sales of most altcoins violated Section 5. My issue, as you know, has always been secondary sales. That's why I became animus for the case, right? And the judge agreed with me that his order didn't implicate secondary sales. And so what we've got here is we've got to kind of unpack a couple of things, right? So the first thing we have to kind of consider here is that if Ripple were selling XRP directly to other enterprises, businesses, and all those kind of things, you kind of can have a case to say that it's a security. Okay, but when you have regular retail investors, okay, buying it from a secondary marketplace, such as your exchanges, it becomes very, very difficult for that 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗓 test to be applied, right? And this is kind of half the problem. There's a lot of stuff going on with the SEC kind of claiming that there's X amount of sales from, period 2017 through to 2021 or 2020, it must have been 2020, sorry, that, there's a lot of stuff going on when it comes to sales of securities from Ripple. Now, it's hard to kind of look at that through that particular lens when you haven't really got a legal platform to be able to kind of rely on it, at least in my opinion. But obviously, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just kind of, follow the logic of these things. It's kind of hard to say who sold the XRP from the exchange point of view, unless, of course, Ripple are offloading it that way, and they stopped doing that very early on. So again, it's really difficult to really kind of pin this one on them from that secondary sale point of view, and that's kind of where this case starts to crumble for the SEC. So furthermore, 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 also argued that the SEC should not attempt to shortcut the 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗓 analysis, a legal test that determines whether an asset qualifies as a security or not. And he added the SEC cannot allege that every sale of XRP from the beginning to the end meet all three criteria of the 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗓 test. Essentially kind of what I just said. So, it's really obvious that you can't kind of just say XRP is a security. Okay, XRP could be a security if certain individuals were to sell it, such as Ripple, and there were 𝗕𝗪𝗪 applied to those very specific sales. But to kind of just say XRP is a security and kind of, label it all that way is very, very foolish, and it's very naive. And I think what the SEC were kind of hoping here is they'd just kind of get paid off from Ripple. They take it on the chin, pay their fine, like many of these other cryptocurrencies and companies in the past have done. And I think they've really kind of screwed themselves over in the slightly longer term here, because if Ripple do win, that's a massive win for crypto, and this whole case can be then used to further cement other cases going further forward in the idea of defending cryptocurrency rather than just attacking it. So everyone in the crypto space, in my opinion, should be behind Ripple on this one, because a Ripple win is good for crypto. A Ripple loss is bad for crypto, because it does give the SEC then the ability to say, well, if XRP was a security, now 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗓 you're a security. And now 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓 you're a security, well, I'm just going to go absolutely insane and say Cardano is a security, even though the fair launch that Cardano had, right? So we have to kind of understand that the Ripple winning is going to be vital for crypto all around the globe, right? And that's kind of where we want. No matter whether you like XRP or not, it is critically important, in my view, that Ripple win this one. So 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗓 also added that over the last 76 years, in the last 76 years since the 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗓 test has been established, there's not a single case wherein the underlying asset in an investment contract has always been considered a security. And again, we can see that he further added that the SEC cannot credibly argue that the SEC's theory in the Ripple case shown by citing the actual briefs by the SEC is supported by the law or protects investors. I've seen the SEC snatched defeat from the jaws of victory because of this observed overbroad theory. Now, if we kind of just unpack that just a little moment there, yes, I totally kind of agree with what 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗓 is saying. It's very hard not to. And yeah, the SEC are not living up to their mission statement. This is something that Chris and myself talk about all the time, and why Chris has been calling for a few months now that Gary gets fired. And it's great to see that that's finally progressing some way, but it's a little bit too late. We've seen not only Gary creating billions of dollars worth of damage to retail investors, but also his predecessor, Jay Clayton, who brought this lawsuit on in the first place, creating $1 billion worth of damage. Okay, billions of dollars, not just billion, but billions of dollars. And so what we tend to find here is that there's a common theme with the SEC, and that they are not protecting retail investors, okay? And all they're doing is trying to do money grabs, in my opinion. Now, there's a lot going on, lots of things that I think are going to unfold in the coming kind of weeks and months for the Ripple versus SEC case, and I think some of it is going to be absolutely fantastic for the price action of XRP. Now, we don't know when. Timing things is a little bit difficult because of, well, no one really knows exactly what's going on. But I've got a few charts here that kind of give me a little bit of hopium in the sense of we might be seeing something soon. Now, if we don't see it soon, and, we do actually end up moving a little bit further along down the line of, court cases and going to trial and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, we're going to see potentially another pullback. But from the technical analysis aspect, we are primed and ready to go. It's now just a case of the XRP community getting that green light to say, yep, it got resettled, or the judgments come in, summary judgments come in, and, it's a Ripple win or Ripple settle, whatever, right? We're kind of poised and ready to go. So let me show you. So over here, we have our WXYXZ. Now, when this structure finishes, it could be bearish for the price action of XRP, but we do have price appreciation on the horizon here. We're looking to finish off our X wave, and we're looking for that next move upwards. At the moment, with the case just kind of being in limbo, just being in the background, bubbling away, we're talking about 62 to 68 cent. With a closure on that case, we could see this thing significantly rally up and completely smash past the current analysis, right? And we could be talking about some very significant gains. We're talking probably new all-time highs very, very quickly in the case of XRP, in my opinion. Where specifically, if we do see a Ripple win, and we can start to see that we have the clarity that the US need for the US exchanges to actually start listing XRP so that the US can participate in buying and selling of XRP. Whether it gets classified as security or not doesn't overly matter. The main thing is you get the clarity that allows you to actually transact XRP without breaking the law. And that is why you haven't seen it being listed, or it got delisted, I should say, from many of the exchanges in the US, is because it's unknown. It's not got the clarity that it needs. Once that clarity comes in, either way, we're going to see it getting listed, and we're going to start seeing it run significantly, in my opinion. I don't think it'll be listed as a security. I think it will get classified as not a security going forward, and I think we're going to see, a fantastic run to the upside. Now, our smart money concepts is also in our bullish state of play here. We have a change of character, which was going from bearish to bullish. This actually happened back in September of 2022. We then have two confirmations of a bullish structure here. So everything is looking pretty good. Like I said, kind of ready to go. We find ourselves in the position, let me just show you, of lower lows and lower highs. Essentially what this means is that we are likely to see a break upwards. And so, as I said, we had that kind of targeted range right here. This is basically 62 to 68 cent, and our smart money concepts also aligns to this. So it's possible that we come down a little bit deeper before we rally, of course. This is a daily chart. We're not saying it's going to instantaneously move up, but we are right in that zone. We can kind of see it right here. There's a little bit of a fair value gap. If we needed to drop down to 39 cent for whatever reason, we could probably see that and rally up from there. There's also a fair value gap up here at 49 cents. So again, we could fill that one out and come down here later. Ultimately, if we get a closure in the case, I don't think we'd revisit that 39 cent anytime soon. So it'll be interesting to kind of see whether or not that actually gets left behind, or whether or not we'll just come down, quickly grab that. It could just be a quick wick on one day and just come down, grab that liquidity from down here in these buy orders, and essentially just fill that gap and then rally from there. Now, our main concerns really are the demand and supply areas. Previous demand area has turned into a supply on our weekly. Our weekly stochastic still has moved to the downside as well, and we're currently finding resistance on that 250 EMAs. So we have got a little bit of resistance right here. So we could still see a little bit further to the downside, right? 39 cent wouldn't be a bad thing. Okay, good accumulation, and then we can start to move upwards. And again, we can see these areas of resistance, previous areas of supply potentially looking to come into our own in terms of demand. So we're talking 86 cent to $1. We're talking up here around the 141 to 131 range, and then of course going up into a new bull market high before we hit the new all-time highs and all those kind of things. So there's a lot of journey here. There's not something that's going to happen quickly, at least not in my opinion, not without that case kind of getting a good win for Ripple, because I think we'll smash past all of those incredibly quickly if Ripple do actually win the case. So there's a lot of things to be thinking about, lots of fantastic things on the horizon here for XRP, in my opinion. I would say that it's better to have exposure than not to have exposure to XRP, specifically as we kind of get through this year further and further. I mean, we're in May now, so I don't imagine it's all going to be too much longer before we actually start to see things kind of coming out of court and basically starting to see XRP getting the clarity that it so much deserves. Guys, I'm going to leave this video right there. If you found it useful and informative, smash that like button. Do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done and out of the way, guys, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
We are not financial advisors, and none of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.